The Oregon Symphony has been committed to touring the state. Since the 1940s, the orchestra has traveled as funding has allowed. Too often, however, its presence in Oregon's rural communities has been fleeting at best, making it impossible to have a lasting impact on music and music education in those communities. The Community Music Partnership changed that in 2003. We began building true relationships across the state. The Community Music Partnership started to take shape in 2000 as the Symphony reevaluated their statewide community engagement efforts. They began with one guiding question: what does the Oregon in Oregon Symphony mean? The education and community engagement staff started by having conversations with communities across the state who'd been visited by the orchestra in order to understand their current needs and challenges. From these conversations, it soon became clear that the need across the state was great, but that the Oregon Symphony could not be everything to everybody. But serving as a catalyst for positive change, challenging communities' understandings of how the arts enrich schools and the broader community, was something we could all work together on. After 3 years of communications and planning, the Community Music Partnership was born.
The Community Music Partnership started in 2002 when we decided to take the Oregon Symphony to rural communities. Well, it was important so that people living in the rural communities would feel connected to their symphony, and it was important to the musicians to get out into the community so that they can also connect with the people of Oregon. It's important for communities to have the pride of hosting the Oregon Symphony in their community.
The Symphony's first community partnership was with the Redmond School District in Redmond, Oregon. The first step was to identify a local steering committee to assist in designing residency activities. A group of local political leaders, school administrators, teachers, and community volunteers gathered with the Symphony team to assess current programs, needs, and the strength of local partnerships. The framework for residency visits was created.
My background is as an arts educator and a school principal, and now I teach teachers. So I'm able to be a consultant to help the teachers plan for the use of their money so that both educational goals and funder goals are met. So the teachers were able to say, okay, how can we responsibly and creatively spend our money so that teachers change, so that every kid in our school has a high-level experience with musicians, and so that our community is involved.
Each year, the Symphony staff brought more experiences and services to these planning groups through the collaborative planning process as schools and communities realized the possibilities unique to their own culture.
The Symphony has done an incredible job of organizing this so that we're getting a broad range of experiences. It was so wonderful for us to be able to play with instruments and learn the basic elements of music, and then to create our own compositions, to play them in front of each other and take those risks. And it was just it was a wonderful experience, and it has helped to connect us to the music and then to connect us with bringing it back into our classrooms.
I'm here with some of my friends from the Oregon Symphony. We came all the way from Portland to play for you guys.
We're basically bringing different instruments into the school programs, in our case it's the strings, just to give the kids a basic exposure to the different groups of instruments that there are out there and how they sound, how we play together as a team, and just to kind of introduce basic musical concepts like melody, rhythm, tempo, dynamics, that kind of thing. A lot of these kids have never seen, violins or cellos or violas, and so I think it's very exciting for them to hear it and then get an opportunity to actually try to play it or, touch it and get their hands on it. Good.
arts are what bring joy and healing in our lives, and so as the schools have to cut back more and more in what they offer to the kids, I think it's important that we as adults try and bring as much in from the community as we can. And so I just want to do my part to make sure that my children are exposed to it, the high excellence of the arts and the accessibility.
Oh, I really enjoy getting out to the schools and seeing the kids because it's so much fun. Never know what you're going to get. It's fun to entertain and educate at the same time.
Lovely.
I like the trombone. The trombone's my favorite.
This was one of those dreams come true, so to speak, to have the symphony come here. The most wonderful thing that I could see would be if we can integrate it throughout the day.
The spoons represented the reeds, so every instrument that had 2 reeds, we would put 2 spoons, and every instrument that would have 1 reed, we would put 1 spoon.
For making this model, that you have to use group work and work together, and it's not just, oh, I did all of it.
My sister, she got to play the cello, and I thought it was really cool, so I want to be a cello player.
Isn't that cool?
I think that music is part of everyday life for everybody. It can calm you when you're upset. It can stir you up when you need to be stirred up. It can help you work better. It can help you sleep. But it also helps you learn, and this is what I've noticed, that things that I do, say when I teach keyboards, carry over to reading skills, math skills. Things I do all the time with children carry over into other parts that they learn.
So just keep your eye on the bow for a while. All the way to the tip, as far as you can go.
We were always hearing rumblings in the community about, I wish somebody taught violin, somebody taught strings. And so between the 2 of us, we thought maybe we could start a string program here at Terrebonne. We are in a rural area that doesn't get a lot of cultural activities, and they don't even know what a violin looks like or what a clarinet looks like hardly, except just from pictures. So the opportunity to get your hands on an instrument like a violin and learn how to play it and to start focusing and to start learning and start kicking in that part of the brain that's mathematical and also the musical aspect of it. I just think it's wonderful for kids to learn that way.
Here is a drum. Specifically, it is a snare drum.
A lot of these instruments, even though they aren't particularly esoteric, most school-age kids haven't seen them. They've heard them. They've heard them in movies, they've heard them in cartoons, they've heard them all their lives, but they didn't know what they looked like. Music is a part of our culture, and it's also a way for children to connect to other cultures as well. I think in some ways that a symphony orchestra is a perfect institution for children to be exposed to because it evolved over time, and it's composed of instruments that were brought from many, many different cultures from all over the world.
touching the heart and soul of all Oregonians, is the stated mission of Oregon Symphony music director Carlos Kalmar. With Kalmar's arrival at the Symphony in the fall of 2003, the official launch of the Symphony's Community Music Partnership began.
For a conductor who comes from very far away and from a very different tradition and has hardly ever worked with high school kids. And here I thought immediately there was a connection, and that is due to the real extremely good work and programs of the teachers here. So I really enjoyed this.
The most eagerly anticipated event of the partnership, a visit from the entire Oregon Symphony Orchestra, occurred in the spring of each initial year, after the ensembles from each section of the orchestra had made their visits. The faces of orchestra musicians made familiar through many months' visits to classrooms made the youth concert experience a much more meaningful one. Young musicians and their band and choral directors worked throughout the winter and spring with the symphony resident conductor Gregory Voida.
It's very important for us to reach out and to go where our audience or our future audience is. There are many shows we do for families. It's equally fun for adults. It's very kid-friendly. They experience something that you cannot experience anywhere else.
We used visual art so that we had lesson plans for helping kids listen through painting or through visualizing sound, and the kids themselves really hooked into it.
The community concerts were preceded by a resource fair, at which students and teachers showcase examples of student work.
This is Miss Glenn's 5th grade class orchestra, and we decided to do this because we wanted to get an idea of what it was like. These are the double bass. These are the cellos. Violas. The first violins. Second violins. Harp. And the woodwinds, we have the bassoons, oboes, clarinet, flute, and back to percussion. And then to brass, we have French horns, slide trombone, and the trumpets.
It was my first time ever going to an orchestra or a symphony, and when I saw it, I knew where everything was. It looked different from what our model looked like, but we tried to make it look and represent the instruments.
And it was really cool because you got to hear them play and work together with all the other people.
The unique experience of the partnerships was not always the residency visits from the musicians, but rather the learning activities which ensued after each visit. The communities and schools took it upon themselves to deepen this relationship as it fit into their community's culture. They realized just how important having community-based music opportunities was.
It's not just about getting money and having artists in schools. It's about changing the culture and the values in a community.
After the orchestra visit, the partnership turned to developing a sustainable plan to grow partnership goals, utilizing local resources. The resulting plan was sustainable and implemented in year 2 with an emphasis on strengthening local partnerships while collaborating with the Symphony on new and creative sources of funding.
First, you have to have the support of your district, your school board, your community to focus efforts in that direction. At the school level, administrators need to be supportive of fine arts curriculum, finding some creative solutions to fund things where there is not often very much money. It takes teachers who are willing to do things differently, to look at flexible schedules or at integrating things into their classroom curriculum. It takes parent and community volunteers. What we need to do is to create those bridges.
What I liked about the community music partnership with the Oregon Symphony was the relationship of the selection process, where rural communities had to step up and say they really wanted this. And then the symphony's commitment to come back and be there in the community, working with school teachers, working with students, working with families, and bringing the great music of the ages through the Oregon Symphony's performances in these small towns across our state.
I think that it's had a tremendous impact, and it's really a great model for orchestras to be in the community. It's a comprehensive model. I hope that we continue the program with other communities in the future because I think these relationships are critical to our long-term mission at the Oregon Symphony and our long-term success as well.